is for you guys that are interested in getting into our combat athlete drilling program as soon as possible. So this is our Accelerated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu learning course. The first thing that I want to talk about, guys, before you come in to drill in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class are some of the basic rules that you need to learn, okay? Some of the basic rules in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are obvious. We're not trying to hurt one another in any way or injure one another in any way. So we avoid things like slamming one another, dropping one another on our head, putting our fingers in the eyes or any area that is fragile. There's no small joint manipulation like grabbing the fingers or the toes, hair pulling, those biting. These are all the obvious things that everybody should consider. But to move into a little bit more detail about how we can grip and not grip in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. First off, if I'm grabbing my own gi, which I can use in many different ways, I am allowed to grab inside my own sleeve any way that I want, okay, or the outside of my sleeve. I can grab my lapels. Sometimes I'm using my lapel to choke my opponent with, even, all right? And I can choke him with his lapels and grab his lapels any way that I want to grab. When it comes to his sleeves, I'm only allowed to grab the outside. So I have to grab with my fingers on the outside of the sleeve and not with my fingers on the inside of the sleeve. And really a lot of times that's because really you end up hurting your own fingers. You get your fingers broken pretty easily when you grab on the inside and they're trying to circle and get out. Your fingers get stuck and they break. Even sometimes when you grab the outside of the sleeve, that can happen. So that's something to always be aware of, is getting your fingers tangled up when somebody's trying to circle around to escape the grip. So I can grab sometimes by actually rolling the sleeve back and making a hook, which is generally what I prefer to do. Or you can also get a handful like this and grip that way. And those are both legal. But once again, grabbing on the inside of the sleeve is not legal, of his sleeve. As far as the pants go, I can grab the pants pretty much anywhere. I can grab the belt pretty much anywhere. I cannot grab inside of my pant leg. I have to grab the outside of my pant leg if I'm going to grab it. Same goes for my opponent. I can't grab the inside of his pant leg. I have to grab the outside of the pant leg. But I can grab his pants anywhere I want. I can grab his belt, his jackets, anywhere. Okay, so those are some of the basic gripping rules in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, so now we're going to talk about leg locks real quick. What leg locks are legal and illegal for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, particularly right now as a white belt, or as a beginner. There's only one leg lock that is legal as a beginner, and this leg lock is pretty much the only leg lock that's legal until you get to brown belt level in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it takes a while to really get into some of the other leg locks. The one legal leg lock is what we call the straight Achilles lock. And in a straight Achilles lock, there's absolutely no twisting of any kind that takes place on the ankle or the leg. It's a straight ankle lock that puts pressure on the back of the calf or the Achilles or the top of the foot. There's no twisting involved in that. I will show you how to do that in greater detail in a little while so you can see the proper way. So there's no knee bars, no calf crushers, no toe holds, no heel hooks, nothing like that at a beginner level. Heel hooks are not legal at all in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so we definitely want to make sure that we're aware of that. As far as doing the straight Achilles lock, there are particular ways that your body also has to be positioned in order to do it correctly. So I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, so first off, guys, reaping the knee is what we have to pay attention to. All right, reaping the knee is what is considered to be illegal. Doesn't matter what belt you are, you don't want to reap the knee. All right, so if we get into a little leg tangle here, for instance, reaping the knee is when my leg goes from, it points from the outside of his leg toward the inside of his leg. So if I bring my leg up like this and I cut it across his leg here, and I'm turning his knee in, this is called reaping the knee, and it's illegal. And the reason why is because you can really hurt somebody's knee when you do this, all right? So the correct way to do it, generally, is just making sure that my heel never passes his hip. So my toe should point out, and my heel can never pass his hip. So if his knee is pointing out, I'm generally okay. Let me do this again on the other side. If my leg is under here, I want to make sure that my toes point out and his knee points out, like this. So this is how I can control his leg. As soon as if I stay in the same position, as soon as I turn in this way, and I start bringing my leg over, now I'm reaping the knee. So I have to be very aware and very careful of this. Actually, I had a guy compete this weekend, and I just watched his video, and he did that very briefly when the guy was standing. He did it very briefly, didn't even really know it. The referee stopped it, disqualified him right away. I don't even think he got a warning. So that's how much they watch over this right now. So we stand up once we get Frank put you right here. I'm going to show you from a different view. Stand right here. So if I was here, and I bring my leg around this way, around his leg, and I turn his knee in like this, I'm reaping his knee. Alright? If I keep his knee pointed out, like this direction, then I'm okay. And generally I want to make sure that my heel doesn't pass over the hip or pass over the leg. And that's how I keep from reaping the knee. So if I'm going to go for an Achilles lock, my position, number one, is very important. Alright, now an Achilles lock, I'm going to hug his foot basically between my arm, my body, inside my armpit here. Alright? Now I'm going to be arching to create pressure, to put pressure on the back of his Achilles and to extend his foot. So as I'm here, if I get into leg lock position and I'm like this, I'm hugging his leg like so, putting my wrist bone kind of behind his Achilles, grabbing my fist, and now as I put the pressure, I'm extending the foot to get the pressure. And this is what is considered a straight ankle lock, where I have his foot and I'm putting pressure this way. And I'm not twisting it. And anyway, there's a lot of twisting leg locks in general if you practice submission grappling, no-gi stuff. Still at different levels. Some things are legal and others not. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's very limited as far as twisting leg locks go. So straight ankle locks in the beginning is a white belt, making sure that we're not reaping the knee. Okay? Another important topic is neck cranks. You want to make sure that you're not doing intentional neck cranks to your opponent. That means twisting the neck in any way, or even doing what they call can openers. So maybe Frankie has me in his guard position. And to open his guard, this would be perfectly okay in like MMA, but not in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sport. So I don't want to grab his head and pull his chin to his chest and pull until he opens his legs. That would be considered a neck crank, which would be illegal. Okay, so I want to avoid twisting his head and cranking his head up in any direction. We do all kinds of chokes, so we're wrapping the neck up in a lot of different ways, but we always want to try to avoid cranks. All right, twisting and yanking on the neck can really injure somebody or hurt your opponent. If you're going to practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu every day, you don't want somebody trying to rip your head off every day, right? So we avoid things like neck cranks. Those would be illegal. Now I'm going to talk about percentages real quick. Percentages basically means at what percent are you going to spar or grapple? How much energy are you going to put forth? Okay, and we like to grapple in different percentages. If I say 100%, that's competitive, very hard grappling. If I say 25%, that's very, very light, very soft, not even very competitive at all. You're kind of going through the motions in a very smooth and flowy kind of way. If I'm saying 50%, basically has more to do with speed. Okay, so we do something called slow motion grappling, which really is where you should probably try to spend most of your time doing slow motion grappling, even when you're doing competitive drills, because number one, it reduces the amount of people get injured by a lot. Number two, it makes you a much more technical and proficient grappler to do this. Now, if I was going to be training for a competition, I might bump it up to 75% sometimes, and then also, of course, 100% when I'm training for competitions. And we set time aside to do that, where you can train at 100%. For the most part, when we're doing everyday grappling drills, we try to focus on 50, maybe sometimes 75% as far as overall energy put forth. I might be 100% competitive, whereas I want to achieve a certain task. I want to get the submission rather than my opponent get the submission. I want to control my opponent rather than control me, but I try to do that in the most technical way possible. What I'm trying to say is you're trying to get maximum results with minimum effort, all right? And so I'm going to kind of just show you real quick. When I'm grappling, I'm trying to control my opponent with the grips, with my positioning, with my weight, and I'm not trying to do things in a hurry to be fast and explosive. There is a time for that, but the majority of the time, you should be trying to avoid that. So, say for instance, I'm trying to pass Frankie's guard. I can try to go real hard and be real fast, and be really aggressive, but really that doesn't help me very much technically. I want to learn to rely on the techniques. All right, so he's going to try to keep me from passing. I'm going to work to pass the guard. But watch how I take my time and I try to do that grip by grip. If I can learn to pass somebody's guard at that pace and they can't keep me from doing it, I can definitely do it fast when I need to, all right? And as I said, as I get closer to competitions, I might start picking up the pace a little bit, but for everyday practice, we want to try to stay around 50% most of the time. Another thing to think about is that sometimes people are coming in here because they want to learn self-defense, and through our 30-class combatives course, you are learning self-defense, but I don't want you to think that every time that you do a grappling drill, every time that you train with resistance, that it's a live or die situation. Okay, that helps you. If you have that mindset that it's like live or die, you're never going to be able to train at 50%, at the right percentage it takes to truly excel in the sport on a technical level. All right, it is important to learn to deal with somebody who's being very aggressive, even trying to hit you, and those kind of things for self-defense. But for everyday drilling, it's not life or death. It's about getting better at the sport. It's about helping your team get better at the sport. So we want to learn to train in a manner that allows for us to do that. So once again, there is the self-defense side of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and there is the sportive side of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, and a lot of times when we're doing the drills in the combat athlete program, it's for the sportive side, right? And we're trying to excel and get better at the sport. The more you do that, realistically, the more it's going to help you in self-defense. And when you're doing self-defense training, what you're learning is your body's learning to get used to and to be comfortable with tons of different awkward and weird situations. You get stuck in every situation over and over and over and over again during the grappling drills. So it doesn't need to be life or death every time that you're there. It's about learning to become comfortable with the movements, being comfortable in awkward situations, learning what to do, learning what steps to take. And then there will be times where you can increase the pressure, increase the resistance, increase the explosiveness in order to make it more like a self-defense drill. Okay guys, so now I'm going to go over real quick what we call the map. I'm going to show it from different angles, different variations. This is just the foundations of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where you want to be, where you want to go. Alright? So we're going to start with the takedown. I'm just going to go through it right now, and then I'll explain some other things in more detail. Okay? Okay guys, I'm going to go over the guard pass in greater detail. Alright, so I'm always starting out with inside control, so I'm going to try to get a hold of his biceps right away. So hands on the biceps. In this situation, I'm never trying to pin him down. I'm actually sitting back over my feet, just making little snake hooks with my hands. So as he moves his arms around, I'm just trying to stay on the inside. Okay? If he happens to circle and get into the inside, we circle to the inside of my arm like this, I just keep circling back in. And that's the game we play. For inside control. When I'm ready, I'm going to move one of my knees between his legs. And as I do that, I don't want to lean forward, put my knee in the middle, and then sit back, which a lot of people do. Okay? The problem with that is that as soon as I lean forward, if he pulls his knees in, he's going to pull me down and wrap me up. And my situation just got worse. It got harder. Alright? So what I'm doing is, if I'm going to put my right knee in the middle, I step back with my left knee first. So I should be moving backwards the whole time. Back with the left knee, shift the right knee to the middle. Now if my right hand, or my right knee is the one in the middle, my right hand grabs for the belt and pushes it up toward his chin. Okay? As I lift myself up. And what I'm doing right here is I'm keeping him from pulling me back in. If he tries to pull his legs and pull me in, he can't do it. I'm keeping him from sitting up. If he tries to sit up, I'm holding him down. If my hand is here, he sits up and grabs me and pulls me back in. Right? It's not doing me any good. So I grab the belt and I push it to the chin. Now as I posture up, I take my hip bone and I push it through his ankles. Like this. Turn the hip bone out. Keep good alignment right here. My other hand grabs the inside of his knee and pushes it down to the mat. Alright? Now if I go back a step, if I go to push my hip bone through the ankles and he hasn't opened his legs yet, a lot of times I'll get him open right here, but if not, maybe he has longer legs, my hand goes to the inside of the knee just like before, and now I shake and push it down towards the mat. I want to use my weight as much as possible to do that. So when I do it, I don't grab here and then go like that. I get straight with my body, and then I sit down and put the knee down to the mat. Okay, my butt actually sits against the far side leg, as my hand pushes on the knee, and that widens his knees, and that's what makes this strong. Alright, so let's see that apart one more time. So hands to the bicep, step back with the knee goes to the middle. If my right knee is in the middle, my right hand goes to the belt, pushes it up towards the chin. As I posture up, turning my hips out, hand goes to the inside of the knee, arm is straight, and now I sit, pushing the leg down. Just going to do a basic knee slide pass right now. So I'm going to step over his leg, keeping weight here and here the whole time. And now I slide my knee across his leg. You'll notice I keep my foot on the inside until I've gotten upper body control. So now I'm going to come underneath the far side arm, around his head, putting my chest to his, if we turn it this way, this final position is I have his arm trapped here, under his head, under the far side armpit, hands together, so my knee and elbow connect, and my hip is not up in the air, it's sprawled down on the mat. This is called cross-body position. So we're going to do the knee slide pass a few more times, just do the angles, different angles, so you can watch and see. Okay, now from the cross-body position, I'm going to work my way to the knee on the belly position. First off, let me turn it this way. My objective right now is basically getting to mount position, but if he's not really defending the mount position, the easiest thing for him to do would be to just step over. And now I'm in mount position, right? Eventually people catch on, they don't want you to go mount, so they defend with their legs a little bit. So if I was here again, and he's got his knees pulled up, and I'm trying to step over, this isn't going to work out for me very well, all right? I'm going to get in a leg tangle, and he's possibly going to get out, all right? So that's one reason why I might go to knee on the belly position rather than just step over. So to get to knee on the belly position, I start here, cross body. I'm going to put my hands on the floor, and I can go ahead and put my thumb inside his lapel if I want and grip that lapel. I'm going to push off my hands, switching my legs so that my top side leg shoots back, knee is off the floor, foot is flat to the mat, and my knee is on the belly. That's why I call it knee on the belly. So this hand's holding the lapel, this hand is grabbing the outside pant leg right here, okay? Now with my hands I'm actually pulling, with my knee I'm pushing down, all right? So the knee on the belly is really created to be a very uncomfortable position. So I would be here at post, like this. I do not want my backside knee on the mat. Okay, if I was competing, I wouldn't get credit for this until my knee comes off the floor. There's nothing wrong with this position. However, I can just do less. All right, I can't move around as much. I don't have as many options when my knee is down, and I don't have that dominant control. So I'm not as heavy. Another good reason. This leg becomes my base leg. As it's scrambling and moving around, I'm using this to help ride. Okay? So that's a very important detail. I don't want to put it here, because now you can just reach out and grab it and hug it and maybe roll me over very easy. Okay? I want to keep it away, but base is strong. To get to mount position, I let go of his leg, I grab a hold of his head, keep his chin tucked, put my other hand to the floor, slide my knee under his arm first, and then my other knee to the mat. Alright, now I let go of his head, I kind of sprawl out like I'm skydiving, keep my weight over top of my widen my hands, and here's the mount position. Okay guys, so now from mount position, I'm going to work to get his back. Alright, the technical way looks like this. I want to threaten his neck, because a lot of times the guys are here right away, elbows are tucked and defending. So if I threaten his neck, put a little pressure across his throat, he's going to grab my arm. When he does that, I go under his elbow, and I just nudge it across a little bit. He's stronger this direction than I am, alright? So I'm just moving it enough so that I can get my body to move behind it. Once my body's here, I can push with my chest, and now I'm very strong. I'm going to bring this knee up behind his head as I go under his head and feed that wrist. Alright, nice and tight. Now I pull that wrist, get my hips nice and tight behind his shoulder, and put my heel to his belly. We turn this way real quick. I don't want any space here, or he'll simply just pull his legs through and start to escape. So this foot's in very tight right here. My hips are behind his shoulder, and I'm pulling on this wrist. This is called side mount position. Now from here, if I take this hand and I push it, either by grabbing his arm or I can grab cloth, I pull the wrist, push the arm, use my weight, I'm going to start to roll him. And as he goes to his knees, I want to make sure that my feet get hooked in, sole to sole, on the inside of his hips. Alright, I don't cross my feet, I put them sole, like butterfly stretch. Alright, so we're here. I want to keep my hips centered on his lower back, so I stay in a strong back mount position. From here, I want to flatten him out by skydiving, by pushing my hips into his lower back, by arching. Okay, if I need something extra, if we go back a step, I might go under his chin, grab his far side shoulder to lift up on his chin, and then arch. And this is where I can finish with my rear naked choke. Okay guys, so everything that we've done so far has been me going from the top position. All right, so when we start in the guard position, there's top guard, there's bottom guard, very common position in Jiu-Jitsu. Generally, if I'm on my back, I'm trying to get to the guard position because that's the only position from my back where I can truly be effective. All right, I can sweep to get on top from there, or I can submit them many ways from there. Okay. If I'm rolling around somebody bigger than me or stronger than me, there's a very high percentage that I'm going to be on my back. So if that's the case, I want to get to the guard position. If I'm on the bottom guard, we just saw if I start in the top guard, he's going to pass the guard, get crossbody, knee on the belly, mount, back mount. And that's the map. If I'm going to go and proceed through the map from the bottom guard position, I have to start it out with a sweep in order to get back on top. So if I'm in the guard, a basic sweep, which you learn one in your intro, which is the hip bump sweep, but now you're going to learn the scissor sweep real quick. I'm going to grab both of his elbows right here. I'm going to shrimp my hips out, bringing my knee towards his chin, across his chest. My other foot goes to the hip. So here, if he's trying to get on top of me right now, I'm framing him out with my legs. Keeping the grip so he can't get away. If he's trying to back away, I'm keeping him pulled in right here. So I'm keeping a lot of push and pull pressure. In fact, the more he's trying to fight against this, the easier he's going to be to sweep. Okay, so as I'm here, I'm scooting out just a little bit. I'm going to trap his leg on the bottom, and now I scissor my legs like a big scissor. Whoosh. And as I do that, I'm going to actually steer him with his arms in the direction I want to go. So I look, steer, and scissor. Keeping my leg hooked to his hip to help pull my hips over the top, pushing off the floor, and coming to the mount position. So from here now, if I continue my mat, I'm going to go to side mount and then back mount. So sometimes, guys, I'm on my back and I don't have the guard position yet, all right? We're not in a guard position, top or bottom guard position. So in order to get back into the mat, I usually need to make at least one move to get there, all right? So let's say, for instance, my opponent is mounted on me, okay? See, right now, I don't have my legs around his waist. Okay, if we're in the guard position, we can just step back real quick. The guard position. The guard position, the difference is I have my legs here. Gives me a lot more options. So my goal always is to get here if I'm on the bottom. I don't want to be the guy on the bottom or the guy on the top of the guard position. I want to get to this position somehow. So if we're in the mount position, if I want to get to the top, I'm going to do what we call a bridge. In order to bridge escape, I'm going to trap his upper body close to mine. I'm actually going to switch my arms so you can see the angle. I'm going to go over the shoulder and then under on the far side. Like this, and pull him down. Now I trap over top the side that my arm is over the shoulder. Suck it into my body, trap his same side foot, and now I can lift my hips up, knocking him over, and come to the top guard position, where now I can pass, work the cross body, knee on the belly, mount, and back mount through the positional mat. So sometimes I can't bridge my guy over and get on top, so I'm definitely going to get to the bottom guard in that situation. I'm going to use the shrimp escape to do that. So as I'm going to wrap them up the same for now, just to make it simple. I take one arm over the shoulder, one arm under, and pull down. I always bridge on the overside. I can trap that arm and bridge that way, as you saw a moment ago. Then I'm always going to shrimp to the other side. So as I go here, I put my feet between his legs. I bump my hips this way, where I could either roll the guy, or if he has any kind of sense at all, he's going to base down a little bit with his arm or his leg. I'm going to use that space to pull my leg through. And now wrap up at least one of his legs in what we call the half guard position. Now I'm going to swing my hand out, reach across for his belt with 2 hands. Shrimp out one more time so I can get my second leg out, point my knee up until I can get my foot out. And now I have the bottom guard position, where I could move on and possibly get a sweep. So sometimes, guys, he doesn't have a full mount position. He's got me in that crossbody position. So I want to be able to see how to go from there to the guard position so I can get back in my mat. We already know if he's on top of crossbody, he's trying to get to the mount position on me, if he's thinking positionally. So now I'm trying to get at least to the bottom guard, all right? So in this situation, he's on my side, and we're here. I'm going to use that same shrimp technique. The first thing I'm going to do is bridge my hips up into him to create space, and then scoop my butt out, like this. I like to grab his belt with my hands to keep him pushed away. Now my bottom leg points between his knees. My knee goes between his knees. I point my knee up, and that glides in right between my legs where I get my half guard position. Push on the belt, shrimp out one more time, come all the way out with me now past the hip, point it up towards the ceiling, cross the legs, and now once again I'm on the bottom guard position where I can execute a sweep and get on top.